listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
And that means it's time for the Improv Leadership Show with your host, Ted Schneider, on WRLR 98.3 FM, the voice of Lake County, coming live from the Round Lake Beach Metro Station every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Well, folks, if you're not familiar with Improv Leadership, well, then stick around for the next hour. Again, I'll be on from 6 to 7. And how we usually start the show is I do a shout-out to some of our local loyal listeners. We want to say, hey, thank you very much, Zach Schneider, for listening. Alex Schneider for listening as well. Ellen, we thank you for listening as well. Sometimes Wiz, sometimes a few other folks. But in general, we thank everyone who listens. Just the WRLR 98.3 FM General. If you're not familiar with the station, well, then go to WRLR 98.3 FM, which is actually just WRLR.FM, and check out our programming grid. A programming grid like no other station on your FM dial. Tonight I wanted to start with something different. John Acuff, Jonacuff, has a great book out, and I read it a couple years ago. It's called Punch Fear in the Face, Escape Average, and Do Work That Matters. Really kind of a way of telling people, you know what, you don't have to be ordinary. You don't have to be normal from that perspective, at least of being standing out at work. He talks about no one aims for average, no one sets out for the status quo, and no one longs for the ordinary. But one day, you wake up and say, how did I get here? Especially if you're 40-something or 50-something or 60-something or lucky enough to be 70 or 80-something. But anyway, a way to punch fear in the face is to escape average and do work that matters. And I think a lot of people in their daily day-to-day, especially when you're working, after a certain number of years at a certain job, you tend to get kind of into a routine. I think a lot of people think this is it. I'm not going to do any better than I'm doing now. Perhaps this is it in terms of my career. Well, guess what? Life is complicated. And at this point in our lives, he thinks that there's different phases tied to the age you're in. So in the 20s, you're learning. The 30s, you're editing. The 40s, you're mastering. The 50s, you're harvesting. And your 60s, you're guiding. So again, the great news is it's no longer about when you were born. It's about when you decide to live. You don't have to be in your 20s to learn, and you don't have to be in your 50s to harvest. You just have to start. So again, he talks about some interesting topics here. And we're going to start again his book called Punch Fear in the Face. He talks about learning, editing, mastering, harvesting, and guiding. So think about it. If you're in your 20s, you definitely are in the learning phase. You went to college, maybe you just got a first job, joined the military, but you didn't know yet what you were made of, so you sampled some different endeavors, some different jobs, and different things in life. And again, you're not only trying to learn about yourself, but of course the world around you and, how you fit in. He talks about in your 30s, and you've moved up to the editing phase or the editing part of your life in terms of now you're focused on, what you did well in your 20s. And so you're not really done learning, but you're starting to edit down the list of things that you thought were really important or you're good at. Specifically, hopefully you've prioritized your passions. Maybe you've eliminated some old habits that wrecked you in your 20s, and now you're concentrating on doing more of the things you love and less of the things you hate. Again, there is no, 29, 30, bing, this occurs. But he's saying really it's a period of time, hopefully, where you're now focused on your career, your relationships, and every part of your life. And in general, if you think about it, in your 20s, if you get married in your 20s as an example, as a related topic, I think, the odds of getting divorced increase. If you get married in your 30s, the odds or the percentage of times that you would get divorced decreases. So again, if you think about it, if you're editing in life, I think the same type of thing goes to say in terms of your own personal life, in terms of you know what you want, you know what you don't want, and that goes not only for a job, for your own particular situation, but also in relationships. In your 40s, he says, now you've ascended to mastering. You've edited your life to the most important things that you figured out in your 30s. And then it came time to master them. Well, you're going to be an awesome parent, perhaps, maybe an awesome friend, awesome employee. You didn't narrow your life further. You just had greater certainty about what you were good at and how to do it regularly. You're no longer the young upstart at work. You're the one with 15 to 20 years experience. Tried and true. You started leading bigger projects and initiatives. You were not an expert yet, but you're next in line. Again, that's your 40s, according to John Acuff. Punch fear in the face. In your 50s, you're basked in harvesting. The seeds you planted in your 20s, 30s, and 40s finally are blooming. You made the most money in your career during the decade, and you reaped what you sowed. Again, not rocket science, okay? If you spent time in your 30s and your 40s working hard to be considered an expert in your field, you would obviously have more job opportunities than if you jumped around 47 times and blamed your bosses for not recognizing your talent. If you were deliberate about pouring into relationships in your 20s and 30s and 40s, guess what? Now you can harvest abundant relationships in your 50s. You know, when your collegiate son crashed his car, you harvested outpouring of support and love. Lots of people came to the hospital, and somebody probably even brought a casserole. Again, he kind of digresses a little there. But anyway, in your 60s, he's saying, you've entered a place of guiding. You're retired with a gold watch in a ranch-style home in Florida. Again, that's some people. You're a grandfather or grandmother. Again, that's some people. You were the elder statesman, the one with the wisdom. You got to give back generously to the people who are traveling the path on which you spent 40-plus years. So if you wanted to achieve awesomeness, that's the path you followed. Tens of thousands of people have proved it's the way to awesome. If it's that easy to walk down the path, though, if the steps are so clearly marked, then why don't people do it? Well, the bad news is it's not the only path on the map. So again, he's being sarcastic in a sense, but he's also being realistic that says, look, if most people are doing this, maybe it's time to step out of the norm. Maybe it's time to take a step back and do a little bit different or something a little bit better. Like a back road through the mountains, the path to awesome is much narrower than the other, more common path. Billions of people have traveled and continue to travel the other path, and it grows wider every year. The terrain is easy, grassy even, and after a brief incline, it follows a safe and steady decline that mostly allows for casual coasting. Now, it might sound nice, feels effortless when you're on it. The trouble is, on this path, you don't end up at awesome. You just end up at old. This path is called average. The trickiest thing is that both places begin the same place, and both paths end in harvesting and guiding. So I think what he's trying to say is, all right, think about it. If you want to really be awesome, you want to be, out of the ordinary, you want to stand out, you want to be different than the rest, the path he just described probably isn't like you or isn't for you. So he says, one, the opportunity and speed with which you reach awesome has never been greater. Now think about that. The opportunity and speed with which you can achieve awesome has never been greater. Three forces of nature have collided to create a once-in-a-century storm even bigger than the one that he talks about Patrick Swayze surfed at the end of Point Break. So again, he's talking about here, one, retirement is dead. His friend Luke's mom was a teacher at the same school for 28 years. Here's an example. She was going to retire eventually because that's what you did. You worked in one place, you trusted in Social Security, and then you retired comfortably in a house that had accrued value over a few decades. Well, guess what? In this example, she got laid off. Suddenly, like millions of people in her 40s and 50s, she found herself facing the daunting task of starting a new career, or what people are labeling an encore career. In her mid-50s, she had to be 20 again. And again, she's not alone. In 2011, the statistics show that 20% of new entrepreneurs were between the ages of 55 and 64. Now, those are old stats, 2011, it's 12 years ago, or actually 11 years ago. So I'm wondering how that changed now. But the point is, hope is boss. This is the second point. How many people in college graduating in 1998, as an example, launched projects to build wells in Africa? You know how many asked what percentage of their hoodie purchase was going to Haiti? How many wore Tom's shoes? The answer in each case is 0. Changing the world was something you cared about eventually, but not right away. And the brilliant books reflected that. In Halftime, Bob Buford told boomers that after spending the first half of their lives focused on success, it was time to spend the second half focused on significance and changing the world. Now, if you told a 22-year-old that today, before he can change the world, he has to work for 20 years, he'd laugh at you. Generation Y, Generation X, as they're inspired by the shift in culture, want meaning now, not eventually. So again, hope is boss. And number 3, anybody can play. In 2000, John Acuff paid a designer $2,000 to build a website. He charged by the page and learned how to develop it by reading a book. A book. Can you imagine that? We thought the dawn of the internet removed all the gatekeepers, but it hadn't. It just introduced new gatekeepers, like developers and designers and social media experts. Those days are waning, though. Moms are making millions on blogs. Teenagers are starting businesses on Facebook. People are building empires on Pinterest. Specialists still exist, but technology is finally available to the entire population. Anybody can play. And think about it. In today's world, you can have anything you want on the internet, but also be anything you want in terms of an expert, especially with the COVID thing the last couple of years. A lot of people are doing virtual this and virtual that and Zoom that. So you don't have to be, a brick and mortar and have all this experience and time. You can be an expert or awesome pretty quickly. So again, what John Acuff is trying to say is we live in a time where really anybody can be awesome. You don't have to wait. Similar to what Seth Godin talked about in terms of when it's your turn, take it. Well, it's always your turn. And the same thing I think John Acuff is trying to say. Think about it. Right now with the internet, with what's available to you from a training standpoint, what's available literally with a click of a button, you are exposed to anything. You can share information. You can learn almost unlimited number of topics, and most of them for free or very little. And you can reach a wide audience, wider than ever expected in terms of, in the past, obviously things were local. People had to come to your shop. They had to make candles, or they had to listen to you, or you had to have a yoga class. And again, it was all local, all pretty much in the area. In today's world with the internet, you can reach people all around the globe. So let's think about that. Again, we're talking about John Acuff. Punch fear in the face, escape average, and do work that matters. Go from average to awesome. So he's trying to say here at the very end of his book, so I'm going to skip to the very end here, 10 ways to accelerate awesome with social media. Now, a lot of people think social media, it's got its drawbacks. Sure, there's a lot of garbage out there, and a lot of people put things out there, look at me, look at me, look at me, okay? But the point is, if you think about it, he's arguing you can use social media to accelerate your awesome. Number one, understand why you're using social media in the first place. In the book, Start With Why, Simon Sinek encourages readers to ask why before they start any new endeavor. That logic certainly holds true with social media. Most businesses and individuals jump online, sign up for 32 different platforms, and never stop to ask this question, why am I using social media? Is it fun to keep up with relatives? Are you trying to connect with potential customers? Are you trying to service existing customers? Are you trying to build a platform that'll make your next job interview even easier? Because keep in mind, a lot of companies will look at your social media footprint and presence before they decide to hire you. Bottom line is, for a lot of people, social media is a tool to be used for a specific purpose, like Twitter, okay? That, like the author here talks about, it offers short bursts of information. That's good. He likes that, okay? But bottom line is, get your social media goal roughly shaped, and then you can really start to apply the rest of the principles that you have. Well, folks, we're going to take a quick break here. This is WRLR 98.3 FM. You are listening to the Improv Leadership Show with your host, Ted Schneider. And let's take a quick station ID.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
I told you, WRLR 98.3 FM. This is the Improv Leadership Show with your host, Ted Schneider, coming to you live every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. from the Round Lake Beach Metro Station. Again, WRLR.FM is our website. Anything you want to listen to, from news, sports, all sorts of music programs, specialty, and even high school sports. Rusty and team do a great job with the high school basketball, high school football in particular. Again, WRLR 98.3 FM. If you're close enough to the station, you can just hear us at 98.3 FM. It's real simple. Just turn your digital dial to 98.3 FM. If you're a distance or in a different country from the station, well, then, of course, you can go to WRLR.FM, which is our website, or you can go to the Radio Garden app and look up WRLR 98.3 FM or the TuneIn Radio app. Again, looking up WRLR 98.3 FM. Well, this is Ted Schneider. I'm talking about Punch Fear in the Face by John Acuff. Basically, escape average, do work that matters, and become awesome. He was talking about how to use social media. So, number 2, he talks about the most overwhelming part of social media is that by the time you finish reading this sentence, some new technology will be popular. And this book, by the way, let me see when it came out. It was a little while ago. 2013 is when this came out. So it's good at this point, going on 9 years old. But a good book. I enjoyed it. So again, he talked about pick your places, number 2. In other words, a lot of people say, well, you still use Facebook, or you're still on Instagram, or you're still on... The point is, pick what you want, and maybe just be on 1 or 2. I think to be on multiple social media sites has to be pretty difficult. Probably is really time-consuming, and it might dilute your brand as well. You want to be on YouTube, put some videos out there. You want to be on Twitter and be witty, that's cool. But I think he's saying pick your places so you realize that, of course, you can't be everywhere. You can, but I think it really dilutes your brand. He talks about number 3, play to your strengths. Again, this is how to use social media to your advantage. John Acuff, Punch Fear in the Face is his book. Make social media play to your strengths, not the other way around. For instance, this guy, John, is a horrible photographer. He'll never make it onto the popular page of Instagram with the quality of his photography. He's a writer. That's his strength. So rather than waste his time trying to become an amazing photographer, I do something completely different. I write simple, spreadable thoughts on Post-it notes. Then I take a photo of that note and put it on Instagram. Those photos get more likes than any other photos I do. Why? Because he's a writer who found a way to write on a photo-based platform. So again, make the platform obey the strength you already have and play to your strengths. Number 4, focus on your content strategy before your promotion strategy. And the example he gives here, imagine you owned a store. You're having a grand opening. You spent hours and hours promoting your big day. You spend thousands of dollars inviting people to the ribbon cutting, doing everything you possibly could to drive traffic to your location. The day arrives, the parking lot was slammed full of people. It was a wild success, and then you open the doors, and all the shelves were empty. In the excitement of promoting your store, you forgot to stock it. You've got an immaculate layout. The design is unbelievable, but it doesn't matter. People were expecting products. So as soon as they took a look behind the curtain, so to speak, they realized the store was empty. They left and never came back. Well, that's what content is in the world of social media. Content equals products. Even if you never want to sell a simple thing or a single thing via social media, if you want to build a community, you have to have a foundation to build on. And that foundation is content. So if you start with promotion, the building will be well known and well ignored. If you start with the design, the building will be beautiful and empty. If you start with the community, the building will be temporarily crowded, but eventually abandoned. Content is king. Content is currency. Content is critical. In the old school who, what, when, where, and why story of journalism, well, the content is the what. What blogs will you write? What videos will you share? What will you create? So keep in mind, you have to focus on the content before you do the promotion. Again, this is John Acuff's book talking about how to use social media to become awesome. Number 5, be honest. One of the challenges with social media, it's hard to stand out. He Googled the phrase mom blog, and there's 341 million results. Think about that. Every month, millions of people join Facebook and Twitter. YouTube has 92 billion page views a month. How do you stand out in the middle of all that clutter? Well, the most common answer given is talent. All right? You've got to be somewhat talented, or the best talent, or the greatest talent. But either way, 30 years ago, that might have been true. But the last 20 years, honesty has become as important as talent. Now, keep that in mind. Honesty has become as important as talent. He says, why? Well, thanks to the internet and globalization, we now have more access to more talent than we ever had in the history of mankind. Think about it. You know where that band you found online that was playing their music 20 years ago in the garage? You didn't even know they existed. 20 years ago, that director who makes funny clips for YouTube or Funny or Die, you know where he's showing his movies now? In his living room. You didn't have access to his work. So think about it. Do you know where your favorite blog writer was writing her or his thoughts 20 years ago? In a diary, on a nightstand. That person was still writing amazing stuff, but you couldn't read it. So in the last 20 years, we've all gained more access to more talent than we can possibly fathom. Now, again, there's a lot of nonsense out there, too. A lot of garbage, a lot of crap, silly stuff. But the point is the talent pool is really full right now. It's crowded. And there's not a whole lot of room to splash around. The honesty pool, well, that's a completely different story. You can do the backstroke in that one. You've got all the room in the world. No one would say that in the last 20 years you've become more honest as a culture. So you want to stand out online? If you really want to make a splash with social media, be honest. And again, he's saying this isn't anything new. I mean, the best marketers in the world already know this, and they're already racing to honesty as fast as they can. Take Nike, for example. Nike, and Gatorade used to tell you to be like Mike. Advertising was over the top, practically promising that if you bought Air Jordans, you were going to dunk the next day, and we believed it. We believed it to such a strong degree that kids started shooting each other for the sneakers. Do you know what the headline for a recent Nike commercial was? This shoe works if you do. What? Where's the bravado? Where's the promise? Where's the hype? That's a 180-degree change from what they did before. This shoe works if you do. So the point is, be honest online. That was the biggest reason his first blog grew. He talked honestly about some of the ridiculous things we did in the name of faith, and people hadn't seen much of that online before. So think about it. Social media is either a megaphone or a mask. It'll either amplify what you're all about or hide what you're all about. Be honest and amplify. And again, this is John Acuff's book called Punch Fear in the Face. And we're at the end of the book called 10 Ways to Accelerate Awesome with Social Media. Number 6, don't think of social media as a silver bullet. When the readers of his blog built 2 kindergartens in Vietnam, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution wrote an article about the first kindergarten. Headline was, Blogger Raises $30,000 in 18 hours. Technically, that headline was true, but it should have read, Blogger Raises $30,000 in 18 months. That's how long it really took him to raise the money. 18 months. He wrote stuff Christians like, okay? He poured 1 million words of the best ideas he could think of into conversation with readers, day after day, post after post. He jumped into the discussion happening on Stuff Christians Like was the name of the blog. So, bottom line is, he didn't show up one day and out of the blue say, hi, my name is John Acuff. You never heard of me, give me money for a kindergarten. But sometimes we think that's how social media works. We watch certain ideas go viral and think, well, what the heck? Our business, our cause, our blog could go viral too. We want silver bullets to appear from social media use. And here's the truth. Social media isn't a silver bullet. It's 1 million free bullets. If you try something for a month and give up, you won't change the world. If you write a blog for 90 days and quit, you won't change the world. If you fool around with Twitter for a week and then stop, you're not going to change the world. It takes time, it takes grit, it takes grind, and it takes a commitment to consistency. So again, don't think of social media as a silver bullet. I'm going to get on, I'm going to be famous, I'll have 1 million likes and views. Not going to happen. Also, he says, number 7, don't reinvent the wheel. He discussed plans prior to build a microsite for the book. And you know what the first question asked was? Well, how did Michael Hyatt design his microsite? Why do we ask that? Because he's a genius, and you should never reinvent the wheel to social media. We knew that he and other authors had deliberately crafted their microsites. We could study theirs, add our own unique aspects and skip weeks of needless guessing. So if you've got the answer to the first question, why you're using social media, and you understand what your content is, well, then start researching. Find other social media giants in your sphere who are already doing brilliant work and build on it. So it's not necessarily copying, but it's the same template, maybe the same format, but your own content, your own creativity, your own sense of being. Number 8, once you know what you're all about, make sure others do too. He talks about, in the book here a few months ago, he had dinner with a friend of his, a social media consultant. The guy gets paid thousands and thousands of dollars to help companies with their social media strategies. During the middle of the meal, he leaned forward and confessed something quietly. I know I'm supposed to be using Google+, but I just don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And as silly as it may sound, he feels the same way. And again, he's sure it's pretty awesome. You know, it's Google after all. Who doesn't like Google? But whenever he checks in or logs in or whatever verb you have to use in interacting with Plus, he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. This is the author, John DeCuff. He's positive there's some stream of conversation going on somewhere within the platform. There must be some reason it's awesome, but he can't find it. So again, after a few minutes of poking around, he goes to platforms he knows like Pinterest and Twitter. Turns out a lot of other people do too. It says here, the Wall Street reported that visitors using personal computers spend about 3 minutes a month on Google Plus between September and January versus 6 to 7 hours on Facebook each month over the same period, according to ComScore, which, by the way, is a company I know that was started by Jan Fogoni, who used to run IRI, Information Resources. Fun fact, I worked there, that's why I know. But anyway, will Google Plus bounce back? Probably, maybe. The point is, clarity is the way you carve out some space in the cluttered social media world. It's how you tell readers and followers and tell your fans and your customers. This is what I'm all about. It's your idea stripped down to its bare essentials. So it takes time. No blog ends up a year later being exactly the way you planned it. No social media campaign does exactly what you expected it would. So the bottom line is nothing's perfect. And it takes some time. But again, once you know what you're all about, make sure others do too. Number 9, recognize the ridiculous power of context. Context changes everything. He talks about his, he learned this in a maternity ward in Boston about 9 years ago. His wife had given birth to the first daughter. As he was returning to the room with ice chips, the only real value he was able to provide in those first 24 hours, I noticed something out the window. I walked to the edge of the waiting room and couldn't believe what I saw. 8 stories down from where he was standing was a billboard for a Toyota minivan. What surprised me about it was how it was positioned. You couldn't see it from the street. If you were driving through Boston, you couldn't read the billboard, even tell what it was for. The angle from the street was horrible, but some advertising genius didn't care. They cared about the waiting room that he was in. So again, the billboard from the waiting room was tilted perfectly to grab his attention. Aimed at that window where new dads and moms and new grandparents were sitting, people who suddenly had a deep need for a minivan. So again, power of context. And lastly, start slow and small. He says here, the guy who created pocket-sized stories isn't writing anymore, which is a shame because his site was great. What happened? He says he's not sure, but he may have fallen prey to the problem that wrecks a lot of people online, production. The hardest part of social media is keeping the content going. Lots of people start with goals that are too ambitious, and they say, you know, oh, I'll do this, and they just can't keep it up. So if you start slow and go small, at that point, you'll have more time to build on your brand and build on your social media. Well, folks, this is WRLR 98.3 FM, the voice of Lake County, coming live from the Round Lake Beach Metro Station every Tuesday on the Improv Leadership Show, at least that is, from 6 to 7 p.m. with your host, Ted Schneider. We're going to take a quick break, so sit back and give us a few minutes.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois. 98.3 FM.
Exactly. WRLR 98.3 FM. You're listening to the Improv Leadership Show with your host, Ted Schneider, every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. as the man said on WRLR 98.3 FM, coming to you live from the Round Lake Beach Metro Station. Okay, the second half of the show, I got some different things I picked up at let's see here. It's the latest issue of AARP magazine. Now, it's actually a pretty good magazine. And I hate to admit that I think I'm eligible for AARP, but okay, I won't even go there. But let's just say it's a pretty good magazine, and it's the latest edition. I'm trying to think what it is. It's a February-March edition, again, of AARP magazine. And I thought it was interesting because John Mellencamp, let's see how old he is now. He's got to be, well, he's over 70 years old, which is hard to believe that John Mellencamp, for those that know music, is over 70. And he has 7 tips for living your best life. 1, work around your issues. I guess he can't spell. He's got dyslexia, and the words get all scrambled. So he writes something he wants to save, and he recites it to somebody, and they write it down properly. So again, working with his issues, getting people to help him. Again, this is John Mellencamp, 7 tips for living your best life. He's at least 70, if not older. And he's in the AARP magazine. Number 2, be productive and do cardio. He says he's been fortunate enough to live an artist's life since he was 22. Every day he has to create something, a song, a painting. If he doesn't, he feels like he's wasted his time. He also has to work out every day, and I have to smoke. Well, that's not good. That's his strong suit. I'm really a good smoker. Interesting. Guy's 70, and he thinks that that's somehow the fountain of youth. So I would skip that advice. I would definitely be productive every day. Work, retired, whatever you are in between, and do cardio. Keep the body moving. Number 3, John Mellencamp talks about get into trouble. Summer's always represented freedom from our generation. No school. There were motorcycles and girls and county fairs, and I was always looking for mischief to get into. As the song says, I don't mind a reasonable amount of trouble, and I still don't. I don't want the kind of trouble that you can't get out of, but I don't mind some mischief. So get into trouble. Okay. And I think he's from Indiana, so maybe things are a little different there. But anyway, number 4, nurture later life friendships. It's rare that you suddenly become friends with somebody that you've known a long time. He's known Springsteen for years, and his friendship really blossomed a couple of years ago. They talk and text a lot, and he cherishes that. So nurture later life friendships, which makes sense. Keep at it. Mellencamp talks about he usually has to write about 100 songs to get one good one. Painting is the same way. You've got to keep slugging. The problem with most people is they quit too early, and that's true. There's a book called, a book, I can't think of the name of it right now, that talks about quitting too early. Right around the corner is success, but a lot of times we just quit too early. And that goes for jobs, relationships, hobbies, learn how to play the guitar, whatever it may be. Don't quit too early. Number 6, get off the couch. He's not a religious person, he says, but there's some great wisdom in the Bible, including the notion that we were sent here to toil through our lives. And I believe that. He says, we're not here to lie on the couch. So it makes sense. Get up and move. And lastly, he says, mind the age app. Turning 70 was hard, he said, but a friend showed him an app that views your face and tells you how old you appear. She's quite a bit younger than him and was bragging that she came up at 31. So he said, let me try it. He came up at 41. She said, that can't be right. And they both had a good laugh. So the point is, according to Mellencamp, there's 7 tips for living your best life. Work around your issues, be productive, and do cardio. Get into trouble, nurture later life friendships. Keep at it. Don't give up. Get off the couch, keep moving, and mind the age app. Some tips for living your best life, according to John Mellencamp. Let's see here. We've got another thing here. I looked at a book I've read many, many, many years ago. It's by Robert Fulghum, Fulghum, Fulghum. All I really need to know, I learned in kindergarten. Uncommon thoughts, uncommon things. And actually, it's pretty good. And again, it's a small paperback. It's only, let's see here, 196 pages. But I'll sum around the back and pretty much give you my opinion. But he says most of what he really needs to know about life to live and what to do and how to be, he learned in kindergarten. Wisdom was not at the top of the graduate school mountain, but there in the pile of sand at Sunday school. So here's the things he says he learned. That pretty much all he needed to know for the rest of his life. Number one, share everything. And think about that. The planet we live on, our resources, money, haves and have nots. It is kind of interesting if you think about the world we live in, especially what's been exposed as of COVID in terms of the digital haves and the digital haves not. Those that have to go to work, those that have to leave their home, face the public, be in the public. So definitely share everything. And if you think about the focus of the planet, if we can truly share everything, resources, water, money, I'm not talking socialism, but I'm talking just sharing things and not thinking of yourself always. We'd have a much better planet, much better place to live. Start at the local level. Why not? If you have something to give, your time, some money, a donation, some goods that you no longer need, furniture, whatever it is, why not share it? Number two, he talks about play fair. Well, that makes a lot of sense. If we play fair, then everyone has an opportunity. Everyone has an opportunity to succeed. Everyone has an opportunity to live. As the saying once went, live more simply so others may simply live. Kind of words to live by. Don't hit people. Definitely. You talk about it in kindergarten when you're, Billy hit Bobby or Susan hit, Betty or whatever it may be. If you learn at a young age it's not good to hit people, who knows where the violence might end up later on in life, or lack of, I should say. Put things back where you found them. Why not? Especially if you go to someone's house and you're helping them out with something and you're doing things, why not put things back where they belong? Think about when you're younger, right? You put your toys back in the toy box. You lay on the couch, you put the pillows back, make the Afghan up and fold it. Not a bad habit to get into, of putting things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess. We don't live in a world where everyone's going to clean up after you. And that goes if you're walking your dog. That goes if you're in trouble. Not only a physical mess, but also if you make a mess of a relationship. You make a mess at work. You make a mess in a family situation. Why not clean up your own mess? Don't look for someone to come in and help you clean it up. And again, especially a physical mess. People years ago, litter bugs, throwing litter out of their cars they drove. Never understood that. Again, the best example I can think of is you walk your dog, pick it up. Don't take things that aren't yours. You know what? You're walking down the street and you see something, you want to turn it in, that's fine. People that steal from others, from carjackings to you name it, taking things that aren't yours is not a good thing to do. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. A lot of times in relationships in particular, people do not take the time to take responsibility. I think if you take responsibility for your actions, take responsibility for your misgivings, or maybe you made a mistake, why not atone for it, account for it, be sincere, apologize, and move on. So again, say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. Say you're sorry when you do something wrong to somebody. Wash your hands before you eat. Well, that's definitely something that we have focused on the last couple of years all of a sudden. Again, most of us learned that in kindergarten, and most of us had to relearn it. Or I should say, most of us learned that in kindergarten, some of us had to relearn that. Wash your hands before you eat. Again, these are some of the bullets from All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Some Uncommon Thoughts on Common Things by Robert Fulghum. Flush. Not a bad idea. I think enough said there. Warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. Sure, why not? And if you don't like dairy, there's always almond milk. If you want to skip the cold milk and have some other kind of drink, that's good too. Live a balanced life. Learn some and think some and draw and paint and sing and dance and play and work every day some. Think about that. Live a balanced life. Learn some and think some and draw and paint and sing and dance and play and work every day some. I mean, not a bad idea. You think about what you learn in kindergarten and what as an adult you have to unlearn. What as an adult you have to stop doing. And I say you have to stop doing, but you really don't. You can still learn, draw, paint, sing, dance, play, do anything you want. And the older you get, I think the more license you have, because you've earned that right. Take a nap every afternoon. If you can, why not? I never did. I take 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and just close my eyes and just refocus. Let the stress of the day, the activities that have been going on, meetings, etc. It's a good way of just refocusing. And a lot of times people eat something to get energy. I'd argue, you know what, take 5 minutes and close your eyes, because especially for those that work from home, for me, I log in at 4:45 in the morning, and I'm pretty much on until 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon if nothing goes on or nothing goes wrong. And the point I'm making is you need a break. So take a nap, take a break, whatever you need to basically regroup and just kind of chill out for a bit. Now, when you go out in the world, watch out for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. True. Watch out for traffic. Holding hands, that could be romantic, as well as help somebody else across the street and stick together. Don't get lost, the buddy system. And lastly, all he really needed to know, he learned in kindergarten, according to Robert Fulghum, be aware of wonder. I think we forget at some point, we forget what it's all about to be questioning, and what we forget about, all the things in life that are wonderful. Be curious, ask questions, and never be satisfied that you know all that you should know. Well, this is WRLR 98.3 FM, the voice of Lake County, coming live from the Round Lake Beach Metro Station. We're going to take a quick station ID.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Exactly, and this is the Improv Leadership Show with your host, Ted Schneider, every Tuesday from 6 to 7 on WRLR 98.3 FM. And just a reminder, from 7 to 8 p.m. is Bob Slipke on the Info Explorer radio show. It'll be on right after me, so if you're in your car, keep driving. If you're in your living room listening via the radio, well, then keep listening too. Wanted to pick up something I left off last week with. I didn't finish, actually. It was 20 Things to Remind Yourself Daily by Maria Lourdes Macabasco, lifetofullest.com. I think I got just to number 7, which was remind yourself to understand, have courage, and be strong. Again, she had 20 things to remember. And remind yourself basically every day in terms of, succeeding, getting ahead in life. So I wanted to pick up from number 7 here. And actually, I could do a quick recap, but we don't need to do that. Well, I guess I could. I won't. Number 8, remind yourself, you'll make it through whatever comes along, okay? And a lot of people, I think, don't realize that. You know what? Just kind of keep a positive attitude, and you'll make it, no matter what comes along. It might take you a little longer, might require you to bounce back a little bit, but it's possible. Number 9, remind yourself that there's many dreams waiting to be realized. And that's true. A goal without action is nothing but a dream. So it's good to know when you know what you want and have set your plans. So there's many dreams still waiting to be realized, no matter what your age, no matter what your situation. Number 10, decisions are too important to leave to chance. Make a decision. Don't put limits on yourself. Number 11, no, why put limits on yourself? Life's going to limit you sometimes, or situations, but don't limit yourself. Number 12, nothing wastes more time than worrying. Sure, it's easy to say, harder to do, but it is true. A big, big time waster is just worrying. Number 13, the longer you carry your problem, the heavier it gets. Sure, unburden yourself. Let things go and keep moving, no matter what it is. Someone's done you something wrong. You're on the wrong side of a divorce, and maybe you had a bad accident. You recently had a death in the family. You lost your job, whatever it may be. The longer you carry your problem, the heavier it gets. Number 14, live a life of serenity, not regrets. People who find it hard to succeed in life are those who live in the shadow of the past. They cling too much of what they used to have, and they seldom adapt and move forward in life. Remember that you can no longer alter what happened in the past, but you can change your future. And that's true. If you're worried about something you did a year ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's too late. Until you can unlock the secret of time travel, worry about the future. Live in the now and try to shape your future that you want things to be. Number 15, do ordinary things in an extraordinary way, which is pretty much what John Acuff was talking about in terms of punching fear in the face and living an awesome life. Don't take yourself too seriously. When you're younger, I think you take yourself seriously. I think, you're concerned what other people think. You're concerned with, the things in the world and what's going to happen. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, there's hope. Don't take yourself too seriously. Take your work seriously. Maybe take a relationship seriously. Maybe take driving a car seriously. Use your directional and slow down and be courteous of the drivers. But don't take yourself too seriously. Number 17, friendship is a wise investment. True friendship lasts forever. So you may not see them often, your friends, but when friendship is true, even how time and distance separates you, true friends are the one thing that stays with you. Number 18, reach for your peak, your goal, and your prize. And again, don't limit yourself. A lot of times people don't shoot high enough. They shoot low, they aim low, and they achieve it, and they go, I made it. Yeah, okay, well, tying your shoes as a goal today, unless you got some severe handicap, probably isn't the best use of your wishes and your goals and your wants. Two more. Number 19, remind yourself, take time to wish upon a star. Have faith that your dreams will be there and you can achieve them. Nothing is impossible when you believe. And, years ago, when my younger son, Zach, played baseball, I had some T-shirts, and I came across them a few weeks ago. Believe and succeed. And it's true. If you believe, you will succeed. I remember telling the kids when they were 10, 11, 12 years old that if you believe half as much in yourselves as we believe in you as adults, success is right around the corner. And lastly, again, this is 20 Things to Remind Yourself Every Day by Maria Lourdes Macabasco at lifetofullest.com. And some cool things there, lifetofullest.com. Remind yourself that it's never too late. Oftentimes we resist change because we think it's too late for us to change. Well, guess what? We all have countless chances in this life, and you have to learn to accept change. Again, 20 Things to Remind Yourself Daily, Maria Lourdes Macabasco, lifetofullest.com. Well, as we wind down here, I got a few more minutes left. This is the Improv Leadership Show with your host, Ted Schneider, every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on WRLR 98.3 FM. I was looking back at that AARP magazine. It was kind of interesting. They had a quick article here about food. And a lot of times they talk about, we are what we eat. And it is true. We are what we eat. So they talk about, okay, if you want to do a whole body reset, let's say, you're getting older, what's some of the quick tips? Well, here's some quick tips. Here's 6 steps to a whole body reset. So let's say you've been out of shape, you've been eating poorly, some bad habits. Well, number 1, eat 25 to 30 grams of quality protein at each meal. Such things as fish, shellfish, and eggs, of course, poultry, lean meat, combinations of grains and legumes that supply complete proteins and protein shakes. So reset button number 1, eat 25 to 30 grams of quality protein at each meal. Number 2, eat eat and enjoy fortified dairy foods 2 to 3 times a day. Milk, yogurt, and all that kind of stuff with vitamin D, cheese, cottage cheese, etc. And give me 1 second here. Number 3, eat colorful fruits and vegetables at both meals and as snacks. And we talked about that before. Eat all the colorful foods and fruits and vegetables. Again, dark leafy greens, lettuce, spinach, kale, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, collards, carrots, squash, red peppers, tomatoes, berries, etc. And number 4, aim for at least 5 grams of fiber at each meal, which, again, fiber could be like whole wheat pasta, bread, tortillas, oats, brown rice, beans, vegetables like potatoes with the skins on, peas, broccoli, and corn and fruits. Reset button number 5, enjoy more healthy fats, omega-3 fatty acids, fruit, nut oils, and dairy foods such as seafood, oils like olive, safflower, peanut, and sesame, nuts, seeds, avocado, and olives. And lastly, reset button number 6, don't drink your calories or your chemicals. A significant source of empty calories is beverages, pop, soda, soft drinks, whatever you want to call it, sweetened iced teas, especially coffee drinks, sports drinks, oversized smoothies and shakes, even juices are loaded with sugar. So again, don't drink your calories or chemicals. Avoid calorie-laced drinks as well as diet sodas, which have been shown to increase appetite and in some studies linked to health risks. So that's the 6 reset buttons. Let's say you've gotten out of shape. Again, you've got some poor eating habits. Number 1, eat 25 to 30 grams of quality protein in each meal. Enjoy fortified dairy foods 2 or 3 times a day. Get those colorful fruits and vegetables at meals and snacks. Aim for at least 5 grams of fiber at each meal. Enjoy some healthy fats, and don't drink your calories or chemicals. Now, we talked about that a couple of years back. Amazing if you go to Starbucks and get some of those drinks and you go, how many calories? I thought it was coffee. Excuse me, it's not actually coffee. It's just sugar with some coffee in it. But bottom line, folks, this is the Improv Leadership Show with your host, Ted Schneider, every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on WRLR 98.3 FM. I hope you enjoyed the show. Again, each week I try to show something that's informational, a little motivational, hopefully get you to change your lifestyle a little bit or improve upon your lifestyle and get you focused on what's important. If it's not important to you, well, then it's not going to be important to anybody else. So again, I think the thing that we mostly have to realize in life in general, you are the captain of your own ship, the director of your own movie, and from a career standpoint, you are in charge of your own career. So a lot of people, I don't think, believe and understand how much they have control of their lives. So take it, focus on it, and have the life you want to live, basically. Well, folks, that's it. We'll catch you next Tuesday. Hope you had a good time. See you next week.